He gave light to the world, but died in darkness. How did the man who revolutionized electricity end up forgotten and alone? Nikola Tesla, born in modern-day Croatia in 1856, had a difficult childhood. Growing up, he and his family struggled through poverty and tragedy. His father, Milutin Tesla, was once put in jail for getting into a physical altercation. When Nikola was only 5 years old, his brother Dane passed away after being horse-riding accident. And soon after, his mother, Georgina Mandich Tesla, began to experience mental breakdowns. Although Nikola had humble beginnings, it was obvious from an early age that he was a genius. At age 3, he was already assembling and disassembling watches. By age 12, he was constructing electrical circuits in his bedroom. He graduated high school at 16 and by age 20 earned his degree in electrical engineering. So how did this genius go from changing the course of history to living out his final days in a dilapidated hotel room? Let's find out. In the late 1800s, there were two main competitors in the electricity market, Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. They both fought tooth and nail over whose type of current would dominate the industry. Today, we use alternating current or AC, which was invented by Tesla. But back then, direct current or DC, invented by Edison, was actually the more popular choice. Both Nikola and Thomas had different visions for what electricity could do. Edison wanted to build a system that used DC to power light bulbs and run machines. But Nikola saw the limitations of DC and envisioned a world where people could get free energy wirelessly. In order to beat Edison, Tesla needed funding, so he partnered with businessman George Schuyler to form the Tesla Electric Company. Together, they started to build a reputation in the industry and attract new investors. Then, in 1887, something extraordinary happened. The company secured an investment of $400,000 from J.P. Morgan to create an alternating current system. J.P. Morgan had faith in Nikola, but he wanted him to focus on something more achievable than wireless energy. So Tesla put his dream project on hold and instead worked on improving the induction motor. This invention allowed AC to rotate, which made it much more useful for powering things like electric motors and generators. Tesla also received a patent for the Tesla coil, a transformer used to increase voltage. These inventions proved to be very successful and helped to make AC more competitive against DC. By 1893, Tesla was well on his way to beating Edison. He created a new company called the Tesla Electric Manufacturing Company to produce his inventions. The induction motor was immediately put to work in electric street cars, which were becoming very popular at the time. But soon after, the entire company went bankrupt. The induction motor wasn't as practical as Tesla thought it would be, and investors didn't want to keep putting money into the company. It was a huge blow to Tesla, but he was determined to succeed. So he moved to New York City and hooked up with some new investors to start a new company called the Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing Company. But before Tesla could get his new company off the ground, he got into a major conflict with one of his former colleagues. In the early 1890s, Tesla had been working on developing a type of motor that could be powered by radio waves. He called it the radio motor. Tesla believed that this invention would bring him fame and fortune because it could be used to send messages around the world without wires. Unfortunately, another inventor named Oliver Lodge beat him to the punch and patented the radio several years earlier. When Tesla tried to sell the idea to investors, they laughed him out of the office. He was devastated, but he was determined to succeed. So he took his idea to the US Patent Office, but his application was rejected because Lodge had already patented the radio. To make matters worse, Lodge sued Tesla for patent infringement. Tesla was forced to abandon his invention and pay Lodge a settlement. He was now in debt and unable to secure funding for any of his ideas. The next few years were a roller coaster ride for Nikola. He created the Tesla coil in 1891 and sold the patent to the Westinghouse Electric Company for $60,000. In 1898, he developed a new way to generate X-rays using high-frequency currents, but by 1900, he was back to square one. Tesla Motors and its partners filed for bankruptcy. He had no money and was $100,000 in debt. Desperate for a job, Tesla wrote a letter to his old rival Thomas Edison asking for work. Edison offered him a position as chief engineer at his company, but Tesla turned it down. A few months later, he filed for bankruptcy. Throughout all of this, Tesla's health was deteriorating. He suffered from obsessive-compulsive disorder and was known to spend hours washing his hands and avoiding certain foods. He also began to experience hallucinations and delusions of grandeur. On July 10, 1943, at the age of 86, Nikola Tesla passed away in his hotel room at the New Yorker. He died alone and virtually penniless. The medical examiner found no one next of kin or friends to notify. Tesla's body was cremated, and his ashes were placed in a simple wooden box and buried in the Garden of Eagles at the New York World's Fair. His grave is marked with a simple plaque that reads, "Here lies Nikola Tesla." After his death, people began to realize the genius that had been overlooked. His inventions changed the course of history, and his contributions to science and technology are immeasurable. Nikola Tesla may have died alone and forgotten, but his legacy lives on in the innovations that he left behind. When you think of the most influential inventors of all time, names like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates may come to mind, but their innovations pale in comparison to those of Nikola Tesla. He invented alternating current, which powers our homes and businesses today. He developed the induction motor, which is used in everything from electric cars to robotic vacuums. And he pioneered the use of X-rays in medicine. Yet despite his many accomplishments, Tesla's name isn't as recognized as some of his contemporaries. Why did Tesla die so tragically when he made such significant contributions to the world? There are a few reasons for this. First, Tesla was a very private person, and he didn't like to draw attention to himself. He was also a perfectionist, and he often spent so much time working on his inventions that he neglected his personal life. Finally, Tesla died at a time when interest in science and technology was waning. After World War II, the focus shifted to other areas of research and development. So why should you care about Nikola Tesla? What can we learn from his life and death? For starters, Tesla's story is a reminder that even the most brilliant minds can struggle with mental illness and addiction. He was a genius who made groundbreaking discoveries, but he was also a flawed human being who made mistakes. Tesla's story is also a cautionary tale about the dangers of procrastination and perfectionism. He often spent so much time working on his inventions that he neglected his personal life. He never married and he had no children. By all accounts, he was a very lonely man. Finally, Tesla's story is a reminder that even geniuses need help sometimes. He was a brilliant inventor, but he was also a product of his environment. He grew up in poverty and he experienced a lot of tragedy in his life. If he had had the support of friends and family, he may not have turned to alcohol and other substances to cope. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.